This conference will now be recorded.
Hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Let us quickly start our session. So in the last class, we have done with LBM. Now today we have to start a new chapter, that is users and group administration. See, as you know, user is an individual or user is an agent through which you can log in into the system and you can access the resources of the system. In a simple terminology, user is one who uses the resources of the system, right? So whenever you try to log in, you need to provide a valid username and a password, and then you will be allowed to log in into the system. And every user is associated with an ID, which is called as user ID, right? Like block has block ID, PV has PV ID, VG has VG ID. Same way user has a user ID, group has a group ID, right? Now, there are some hierarchy in user administration also, like topmost user, then certain ordinary users and all that thing. Let us try to understand what are these topmost users and normal users that we are going to work with. The topmost user, as you already know, in our Linux or Unix environment is called as super user. In general term, it is nothing but an administrator. In Unix or Linux, we call this admin or super admin as super user. Now, super user has power over everything, and super user can control anything or everything in the system, right? What's the example? Root. And always user ID 0 and group ID 0 is reserved for super user. No other user in the system can have this ID. This is specially meant for root user. And what is the home directory for root? You already know this also, /root. Whenever you try to log in as root, automatically you will be landing in /root. And what's the shell this user will be getting by default? That is bash shell. See, you know shell is an interpreter through which you type the commands, you give instructions to system. And there are many shells that is used in our Unix or Linux environment. One of them is bash shell, the most prominent and most advanced shell that you can get in Unix or Linux environment. Then the next type of user is system user. See, system users are nothing but applications, important applications that are related to system. These are the type of users which are available in the system, but you are not allowed to log in with their name directly. They are only meant for system or application purposes. Like you see FTP, SSH, Apache, Nobody, many of them are there which we are going to learn in the coming time. And what is the ID reserved for system users? 1 to 999. Group ID 1 to 999. And home directory for each system user is different. For FTP, it is var FTP. For Apache, it is var HTML. For DNS, it is var named. Many of them we are going to learn. But for all these users, the most common thing what you can find is the shell, right? sbin no login. See, any user you give sbin no login, automatically logins for that user will be blocked. That means you cannot log in into the system by typing FTP, SSH, Apache, nobody. Why? Because by default their shell is no login. It protects the user login into the system. Then you have an ordinary set of user, which we call it as normal user. Now you see normal users are very limited privilege users who cannot do much thing. Now it can be simply your name, my name, guest, whatever you want you can call it, visitor, my user, like that the names will be. And the ID reserved for them is 1000 to 60,000. Group ID 1000 to 60,000. So if you find any user between 1000 to 60,000, that means this is nothing but an ordinary user. And the home directory created for each normal user is /home username. Suppose you have a user called Manoj, so you'll find /home Manoj, right? Or if you have a user called Hamid, it would be /home Hamid. And all these normal user will also get a shell called bash shell by default. Okay. Now, apart from these things, a user will also get a mailbox. And where is that mailbox created? See, a mailbox is created in var spool mail with username. Suppose you have a user Hamid, so Hamid's mailbox will be var spool mail and Hamid, right? Like that. Also, where is the information related to users kept? Users information is kept in a file called etc password. Now guys, only the name is password, but actually there is no password stored inside it. It only contains valid user information. What is that? Let's find out. Let me first log in into our machine. Oh, what happened? Okay, okay. Guys, last time we did LVM, and after doing LVM, I deleted everything. I deleted VG, I deleted LVs, isn't it? But I made a mistake, guys. What's the mistake? I deleted LVs, but I forgot to remove the entries from FS tab. I told you not to do this mistake, but I did it by myself. So in FS tab, the entries related to my LV and Aura LV is still there. That's the reason the system is not booting. These LVs are deleted, but entries are not yet removed. So let me delete these two lines. I'll say 2DD and delete those lines. Save and quit. Now I need to say exit. It will continue to boot. See, whenever you deleted a partition or whenever you deleted an LV, you should also remove the entry from FS tab. So I made a mistake that I deleted LVs, but I forgot to remove entry from FS tab. That has created a boot issue for me. Okay, hopefully now the system will boot properly. Yes, it has booted. Okay, so if you just check it out, etc password, you'll find out over here that this is the details that is kept for a user. Now, first field what you see over here is a username. What is the name of this user? Second field is link to shadow file, right? Link to shadow file means in etc shadow there is one more file called etc shadow. What does that shadow file keeps? Shadow file keeps password in an encrypted format, right? Where the user password is stored. So that X is pointing towards shadow file. In shadow file, which line number? is holding password for this user. Now first 0 is user ID and second 0 is group ID. Now guys, in group you have two types of group, primary group and secondary group. What is the difference between these two? We will learn in group admin class. But as of now, you think the group ID, what you see over here is nothing but secondary group ID. Which group ID, guys? Secondary group ID, right? Sorry, primary group ID. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It is primary group ID. Secondary group ID, we will find it out in other place. So username, link to shadow file, user ID, primary group ID. I'm sorry, by mistake I told secondary earlier, but this is primary group ID. Then some information, description, comment about a user. Suppose this user is a team lead or manager or some other important department he belongs to. So you want to give some information or description about that user, you can give it in the form of comment. Followed by home directory, that what is this user's home directory, followed by shell. Same information I have kept over here in the manual with each field explanation what is what. Okay, so you can have a look on it after the class also if you want. And how the password is stored. See guys, if password is stored in a simple format, then anyone can read the file and can decode your password. But there is a protection for shadow file. If you look etc shadow file, first of all, you see there is no permission on this file. It is not readable, it is not writable, it is not executable by anyone. Now such files are only readable, writable, executable by root. See, root has power over everything. You cannot block root. Even if a file does not have anything, still root can read, still root can write, and still root can execute it. As a normal user, if you try to read this file, it will reject you. It says you don't have permission to read a file. But even as a root, when you try to read this file, maybe I want to see last few lines. For example, I have a user. Let me go to etc password. I have a user called my user. Now maybe I want to see what is the password for my user. So I'll go to tail etc shadow. Now when you see that, you see here is your password. Now, did you observe over here? The password is starting with some dollar and it is going something here. Now, this is encryption and high encryption of around 512 bits, right? Which is not easy to decrypt, not really easy. Even if it is decryptable, it might take a huge effort to decrypt it. It is one of the strongest password what you can see, right? So anyway, strongest encryption. So this is the way your password has been kept in the encrypted format, so that even if I see what is the password, I cannot actually get what exact password is. You cannot even track how many numbers are used inside it, how many alphabets are used, right? Or how many special characters are used inside it, you cannot be able to understand. So etc password will store user information, etc shadow will store password. Now guys, there are three simple commands on which our entire administration will be working. User add for adding the user, user mod for modifying the user, and user del for deleting the user information. So suppose I want to add a new user called Manoj. So how can I add it? Simple command is there, user add Manoj. Now make sure that the name what you are mentioning is not already used. So when I say user add Manoj, you will find that this user is created. Now if you go to etc password, you'll find that Manoj user is created by getting default ID, default group ID, no comment or description by default. Home directory is home Manoj and the shell is bash. Now let us say that I would like to add one more user, right? And this user, I want to give my choice user ID, my choice comment, and my choice shell. So how can I give that? In order to create a user with your choice details, you need to follow this criteria. You need to say user add username, or guys, you can say user add options, then username. So any way you like, you can work with user add username options or user add first options, then username. Both are fine. Hyphen U to give your choice user ID, hyphen capital G to give secondary group ID, small g to give primary group ID. Guys, we will skip group IDs as of now. Once we learn how to deal with group, then you can go with group IDs also. D to give your choice home directory path, C to give comment, and S to give whatever shell you want, right? So let me check it out. First of all, how many shells are installed in my system? To see how many shells are installed, you can simply go to etc shells. When you read it, it shows you how many shells are there. You see there are only two shells, bin sh, bin bash. Sh stands for standard shell and bash stands for born again shell, right? So latest is bash, advanced is bash. There is an alternate path, usr bin sh, usr bin bash. So actually we have very less choice. There are only two shells, standard shell and bash shell. If you want, you can install many more shells as per your requirement, but as bash is very intelligent advanced shell, 99.9% we work with bash shell only. That is the reason only bash and standard shells are listed. Anyway, so let us see how can I create this new user with my choice options. So I'll say user add. First of all, I want to give my choice user ID. So I'll say hyphen U to give my choice user ID. What ID you want? For example, 1050. Now make sure that this ID is not already taken by other user. Two users can never have same ID. If you try to give ID which is already used, command will fail. Nothing more will happen, right? Then, for example, I want to give some comment, some information about this user. So I'll say hyphen C, let me call it as manager, right? Moving ahead, I also want to give shell. So I'll use hyphen S. I would like to give a standard shell, bin sh. Now finally, I want to give the name of the user that I want to create. For example, I want to create a user with a name called Hamse. Enter. Now you check tail etc password. You'll find that Hamse user is created with my choice user ID. Automatically it took same number as a group ID. Manager is a comment. Home directory is this, and the shell is standard shell, right? Now I would like to modify some changes I want to do in this user. While creating, I created with some choices. Now I would like to modify the user. Maybe I want to change the name, or I want to change the ID, or I want to change the comment or shell, whatever. How can I modify the user? See, instead of user add, you have to use user mod, and all the options will remain same. So what we need to do, we need to say user mod, right? So let me say, for example, grep hamse in EDC password. So for this user, I want to change the ID from 1050 to 1060. And I would like to change the comment. From manager, I would like to call it something else, right? And the shell I want to get back is bash shell. So how can I modify? I'll have to say user mod. I'll say hyphen u. I want to change the ID to 1060. Then I would like to change the comment. So I'll use hyphen c, change the comment. I would like to change the comment to, for example, senior manager, for example. And I would like to change the shell to bin bash. For which user? The username is Hamza. Now, if I go back and check it out, you see earlier the ID was 1050. It is now changed to 1060. You never asked to change the group ID. So group ID has not changed. You asked to change user ID, it changed user ID, right? If you use G, then it would use group ID also. Anyway, comment is senior manager, and the shell is changed to bash. So this is the way how you can create a user, and you can modify a user if you want to make any changes. If you want to change the name also, you can change it. How you can change the name, I'll tell you in a short while. Okay, moving ahead, I would like to assign passwords to this user. See, these users, whatever I have created, Manoj and Hamsi, you see they are not having any kind of password. Password field is empty. Now in Unix or Linux, we must give a password for a user. If you don't give a password, then it would not allow you to log in, especially on command line. It will never allow you to log in without a password. So as a root, you have a power to assign or change password for any user. So if you want to change a password for Manoj, for example, you can say passwd. There is a short word, passwd. For which user? Manoj user. So you see it says changing password for Manoj. Now it's asking you to set a new password. I'll give a password, for example, RED. See, for security reason, whatever letters I'm typing will not be printed on the screen. One more time, I'll give RED, and you see it says all authentications token updated successfully. Now, if you say tail etc shadow, you'll find that the password for Manoj user is set. Now, if I want, I can log in as that user. I can say Manoj and I can give a password. So you see, who am I? Manoj user. If you want to see little more details about yourself, then you can say who space am space I. So it says you are Manoj, connected to terminal PTS1, and you have logged in at this date and time, and this is the IP from which you are connected to this machine. Now, what is that terminal PTS1? See guys, we are working on multi-user operating system. Multi-user operating system means many users can log in into the system at a time. Now, if 4 users or 5 users are logged in at a time, I don't want each user to see other people's work. So every user is separated by terminal. What you are doing on your terminal is not visible to other, and what other is doing you cannot view. So every user is given a personal cabin, a personal terminal in which they will work, right? So everyone is separated by terminal. For example, if you want to see how many users are logged in with you right now, so you can say who. When you run who, it tells you that there are two users connected, Root and Manoj. Root is connected to 0 terminal, Manoj is connected to 1 terminal. Now if one more user logged in, he'll be on second terminal. 0, 1, 2, 3. So each user is separated by terminal or screen. We cannot see each other's work. Okay. Also, if you want to know about your IDs, you can run ID command. So it tells you what is your user ID, what is your group ID, in how many groups you are participating, and something called SE Linux context. What is that SE Linux context? We will learn in SE Linux class. As of now, ignore that context value. Concentrate only on these things. Okay, now guys, I have logged in as Manoj user. I have explored certain things as Manoj user. You can see you are in Manoj's home directory also. Now let us say that Manoj is going on a vacation, and for next 7 days or 10 days or maybe for a month, he's not going to log in. He's totally going to be out. He's not going to come back, log in into the account. So during his absence, or maybe for any other user, I want to lock Manoj's account. I want to disable Manoj account. See, I don't want to delete his account. I want to deactivate his account. Like nowadays, you can do the same thing on Facebook, Insta, and other places also, that you can deactivate your account if you don't want to use it. And again, if you change your mind, you can again activate and start working with that. So how can I deactivate Manoj's account so that nobody could log in into Manoj username and password? See, first of all, how to check whether an account is active or not. So you can use a command, guys, password hyphen capital S and the user account. Now, if you see here, password is set. And you see, I told you what is the encryption for the password protection. It is SHA 512, shadow 512 encryption that is being done, right? So you see, right now the account is active. And also, if you say grep for Manoj name in etc shadow, you see the password is starting with dollar. Everything is quite normal. Now, the moment I lock the account, you'll find some change in the fields. What is that? We will observe here. To lock or unlock any account, you have a command usermod hyphen capital L to lock the account and capital U to unlock the account. Same way, guys, you have small l to change the name. For example, user mod small l, give a new name for any existing name. So old name will be replaced by new name. If you want to change the name of the user, you can change it like that. To lock and unlock, you can say user mod capital L and user mod capital U. Now, once I made these changes, you will observe that what change you'll find in that fields. I'll say user mod lock Manoj account. Now, if you go for password hyphen capital S, you'll find it says password locked, right? And if you run etc shadow, just go to etc shadow, you will find that the password is starting with an exclamation. So in the password field, if the password is beginning with exclamation, that means the account is locked or the password is locked. It should start with dollar. Dollar is a normal way of setting the password. Exclamation means it is locked. Now let me try to log in. I'll give Manoj and let me give my password. I'm giving correct password. Now when I hit enter, you see it would say access denied. You are not allowed to log in, right? And you can check these activities, guys, what is happening in var log secure. So you'll find out over here that uh, Manoj user password is locked. Now, when Manoj is trying to log in, right, it says that the password is not available for Manoj. Password check failed for user Manoj. See, whenever a user tries to log in, the information whether he has logged in successfully or failed is stored in a file var log secure that keeps the information about the login, when user logged in, when he logged out, right? All that thing. So while login, we got the information that authentication failed or password was locked and this user was not allowed to log in. Okay. Anyway, now let us say that Manoj is back. Now he wants his password to work properly. So I need to unlock his account. I need to say user mod hyphen capital U and the username is Manoj. Now if you go to grep Manoj from etc shadow file. So you'll find that the exclamation is gone. And if you say password hyphen S and the username, you see it is not telling you that the password is locked. Now if I repeat my password by relogin, I'll again give username as Manoj and I'll one more time give the password red. So you see it logged in, but it is informing you that last time you tried to log in and failed, right? So this is the way how you can lock or unlock a user account, right? Okay, now one more thing is there, guys. Let me set password for one more user. Let us say I have a user called Hamse. Now let me set the password for Hamse user. I'll say password Hamse. Now I'll keep simple password red. Now you see I tried to log in over here as Manoj. Sometimes what happens, maybe you are working with Oracle database, so you will log in with your username and password. But to start Oracle database or to deal something in Oracle database, you need to convert yourself into other user. We call it as switching the user. Now, I don't want to log in again with one more terminal, give that username, password, and do the work. Okay, I logged in as Manoj, but I want to convert myself into some other user. So you can say su hyphen followed by that username you want to convert into. So I logged in as Manoj, but I'm converting myself into Hamse. But guys, this requires password. If you know the password, you can convert. If you don't know the password, you cannot convert. So let me type the password as I know. Now you say, who am I? You see, you logged in as Manoj, but you have actually converted yourself into Hamse. Now you can work as Hamse, and as your work is over, you can type exit, and again you check it out, you're back as Manoj. So you have logged in as one user. To make your work done, if you want, you can convert into other usernames also by using SU, switch user option. Now see, if root wants to turn into any other user, when a normal user wants to turn into other user, it is prompting for password, correct? But if you say I'm logged in as root. Now, if I say su, I want to convert into Hamsi. Did it ask any password? No. That is the power of root user. Root user is allowed to convert into any user anytime. And even if the account is disabled, even in that also it will be converted. Okay, we'll see that when the password expire, we will see that, Manoj. Just give me some time, I'll explain that also. So, as I was telling you, that this is the way how you can convert yourself into other user. To convert root into other user, there is no requirement of a password. But one normal user trying to convert into other normal user, it definitely asks for password. Okay, all right. Now moving forward, let us say that I want to disable logins for a user. See, I don't want to lock the account or disable the account. As I told you that sometimes we dedicate the user to some application. I want this user to work only with application. For example, web browser. Now through web server. Let us say we have a website that allows user to log in and do some activity. So I want a user account to be dedicated to that web server. That means through web server, people will connect. Web server will ask username and password. They'll type username and password, and then only you will be allowed to work with application layer only. That's it. So if you want a user to be dedicated with application, in that scenario, we will generally make sure that normal logins are disabled. See, we are going to see this practically when we configure Samba server. I'll show you that how we can use a user only with application instead of direct login through command lines. As of now, you see, we are working with Manoj user. Now Manoj is able to log in directly. I'll say duplicate session. I'll go as Manoj. I'll give a password and it is working. So I want to disable this normal login. So how can I disable normal login for any user? See, simply by changing the shell of that user. If you see, as of now, the shell of Manoj user is bin bash. Now, if you change it to sbin no login, the name itself is telling you it won't allow you to log in. So what I'll do, I'll say user mod change the shell to sbin no login. For which user? For Manoj user. So I'm telling that Manoj user shell should be no login. So as you have given no login, it protects the user from direct logged in into the system, even though you know the password. So suppose I'll give Manoj, I'll give my password. Did you observe what happened? The moment you tried to log in, automatically you got disconnected. So this is what happens if you give no login shell to any user. Now, if you try to convert yourself, su-manoj, what does it says? It says this account is currently not available for login directly. It is not disabled or deactivated. It is very much activated. The only thing is you are not allowed to directly log in. That's it. Okay, fine. Now moving ahead, if you want to allow this user again login, then change back the shell. Simply say user mod, change the shell to bin bash for a user called Manoj. Now go back and check it out. You'll find that Manoj shell is back to normal bash. Login as Manoj user. and you see it's working fine. So this is the way you can just lock the logins, or you can totally disable the user. Locking, unlocking is disabling, deactivating, and activating the user, whereas just by giving this particular thing SBIN no login will protect that a user is not allowed to log in, but it can be used with other application. We are going to see a used case in Samba server, that how we can use a user with Samba application, but we will block normal logins. Okay guys, now let's talk about passwords. You see, as a root user, I have set a password for Manoj user. Now let us say that Manoj wants to change his own password. Now he don't want to continue with a normal password. He want to set up his own password, whatever he wants. So as a user, if you want to change your own password, you see I have logged in as Manoj user. Now to change my own password, I'll simply say passwd. Do not give any name. See, giving name is only possible by root user. A normal user is not allowed to type any name, not even his name. You have to say just passwd. With whatever user you have logged in, that user's password will be changed. So you see I have logged in as Manoj. Manoj's password is getting changed. Now over here I have logged in as root. Now as a root, if I say passwd, it is trying to change what? Root password. So with whichever user you have logged in, if you just run passwd, it will change currently logged in user's password, right? So as a root, if you want to change your own password, just say password and it will ask for new password, set a new password, root password will be changed. Now, as a normal user, when you are changing your own password, there will be an extra layer of security. First, it will prompt you to type your current password. So you see the current password I have kept is red. Then it is asking you to give some new password. Maybe I'll give red hat. You see it says the password is shorter than 8 characters. Guys, as a root, when I was setting the password for Manoj, I set the password RED, which is definitely shorter than 8 characters. But has it accepted? Yes. Why it accepted? Because root has no restriction. As a root, you can change anybody's password. As a root, you can keep whatever password you want. You can keep one letter password, one word password, or one sentence password also. There is no limit. But as a normal user, when you are changing your own password, then your password must have minimum 8 characters. If you give less than 8 characters, it is not going to allow you to change your password. So normal users has some restrictions. We call it as password complexity requirements. So password complexity requirements is only for normal user. It is not for super user. So as a normal user, if you are changing your password, first you must type your current password and then you must give at least 8 characters long password. So I'll try red hat. Oh, red hat is 6 character. I'm so sorry. Let's say red hat 1234. Now what's the problem? It says the password fails dictionary check. Now guys, password failed dictionary check means what? Now here guys, I have given a password red hat 1234. It contains a simple sequence. So sequences are also not allowed. A, B, C, D or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. that simplicity is also disabled. So we must give a complex password that should have alphabets, that should have numbers, and you should also use mandatorily special character. You must use a special character compulsorily. If you don't use that special character, it is not going to work out, right? So let me again try with one more concept. I'll say my current password is red. New password, I'll say red hat at the rate 391. Random characters I'm using. I'll say red hat at the rate 391. So you see all authentications tokens updated successfully. So the password I have kept is red hat at the rate 391, which contains alphabets, special character, and number. So this is the way how a normal user can change the password. It should be at least 8 characters long, and it should have alphabets, special characters, numbers. If it is not used, then a normal user password will not allow to change. Okay, the password is also changed successfully by this user. Now, the next thing is how long the password of this user is going to be valid. Is it going to be valid forever, or is it going to expire at some times? I want to check that password parameters, right? We call it as password parameters. So if you want to check password parameters for any user, now any user can run this command and check it. There is no admin right in this command for checking, right? To check the password parameter for any user, you have a command called chh, change age, you can say, -l to list the parameters for whatever usernames. Suppose I want to check the parameters for Manoj user. So I'll say chh, show me the details about Manoj user's password. So you see it says the password is changed on March 9, 2021. Is password going to expire anytime? Never. Is password going to get inactive anytime? Never. Is account going to expire? Never. Minimum number of days between password change? 0. That means today if I change the password, do I need to wait for some days to again change the password? It says no. Whenever you change the password, again you can change it. There is no waiting time to change the password again. And maximum number of days between password change, that is nothing but password validity. So whenever the password is changed, it is going to be valid for 99,999 days. In fact, when you give 999, it means password is never going to expire. But anyway, 7 days before that 999, it says it is going to give you warning. The same information is actually available in etc shadow file also. If you go to Manoj field in etc shadow, you'll find over here at the bottom or at the end, it is listing out over here, right? So these last few things, whatever you are seeing, this is representing the same thing, right? Zero number of days, 999, that means the password is never going to expire. 7 days before, it is going to start giving you warning, right? And date and time, what time it has changed, kind of thing. But instead of reading the file, the best way to get the password parameters is by using chh-l and the username. Now let us say that I would like to make some changes in this password parameters. Suppose I would like to set some parameter. Maybe my requirement is password should expire in 7 days, right? As of now, you see it is expiring in 99,999 days, which I don't like. What I want is next 7 days the password must expire, or next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, as per your requirement. You want to set some date that whenever password is given in next 30 days, 60 days, or 7 days, the password must expire, right? And one more thing, I want to put a lock over here that whenever a password is changed, I want the password to be maintained for at least 1 day. See, if today the password is changed, the next password change should be allowed tomorrow only. So I want to put a lock here that if you change the password, minimum the password should be there for 1 day. And then only people should be allowed to change the password again. So how can I put that conditions that password must expire immediately today? Or sorry, here also we will see how the password we can force to expire today. But whenever the password is changed, it should be maintained for 1 day. I'm really sorry to confuse you. So two things I want to target. First, I want to make sure that if the password change, it should be maintained for 1 day, and maximum validity of a password I want to keep is 7 days. You can keep 30 days, 60 day, 180 day as per your requirement. In our case, I'm going for every week password must expire, right? And warning should be given 2 days before expiry, not 7 days. I want 2, 3 days before expiry. The warning should be started whenever I'm logging. Okay, so how can I change this parameters? You have to repeat the command chage followed by whichever user you want to modify. I want to modify it for Manoj user. So first question it is asking you is, what is the minimum password age you want? So I'll say 1 day. Whenever the password is changed, it should be valid for at least 1 day. That means today, if I have changed the password, I should not be allowed to change it again today. I must wait for 1 day to change this password. Then option number two, maximum password age, I'm setting is 7 days. As of now, it is 999, but I'm going to set it 7. Last password change date. Now this is automatic. Whenever you change the password, automatically this date will be set. So I recommend not to do anything in this field. Leave it empty. Whenever the password is updated, automatically this date will get updated. Password expiration warning. I want to start giving the warning 2 days before expiry. That means fifth day onwards, whenever you are login, at the time of login, when you give correct password, a message will come on the screen that within 2 days the password will expire. Within 1 day password will expire, and the password expired like that. Now password inactive. Suppose guys 7 days are over. Now you never change the password. Eighth day, when you are trying to log in, see password already expired. Eighth day, when you give expired password, what will happen? See, eighth day, if you give expired password, there are two possibilities. One, your password will be rejected and you will be logged out. It says incorrect password and get out. Or the next possibility is it may accept your expired password and it would inform you that the password you have typed is expired. Now do one thing, change the password now and continue to log in. The same thing, guys, you might have seen in internet banking or other, financial things where there will be a limit for password expiry. And as soon as the password expired, maybe the password expired 3 days back or 10 days back, you never logged in. Now when you are logging, it would tell you that you have typed an expired password. Now if you want to continue, you must change the password and continue. So same thing can possible. So when it is possible, when you have kept password inactive to -1. See, -1 in most of the configuration means unlimited or never. Never means expired password, whatever we are giving, will never be inactive. That means 7 days happen, password got expired. Now after expiry, you have not logged in. 10 days happened, you did not logged in. 15 days happened, you did not logged in. 20 days happened, you did not logged in. 25 days happened, you did not logged in. Now 26 days later, your password expired. 26th day when you are trying to log in, if password inactive is -1, it accepts the expired password. But it tells you that now in front of me you change the password, then only I will allow you to continue, right? So if you want that behavior, you can set password inactive to -1. Suppose a user forgot to change the password, his password got expired, now he is logging for the first time after expiry, so it will prompt it will accept the expired password, prompt the user, change the password, and continue to log in. So if you want that feature, go with -1. If you don't want this feature, then give 0. If you give 0, the day password expire, your expired password will be inactive. Now 7th day password expire, 8th day if you try expired password, it will reject it, saying incorrect password, right? It won't give you any message. Simply it says incorrect password. Or if you want to be little lenient, you want to give some time, then guys, you can set 1 day or 2 day grace period. That means 7th day the password expire, 8th day or 9th day, this user will be allowed to type old password and continue to log in. Okay, so that's what password inactive will do, right? Usually we leave it to -1 because sometimes what happens, it would be a long time. You might not require to log in into the system. 7 days happen, there were long weekend, something, and for continuous 2, 3 days or 4 days you were not available, and then you came back, you are trying to log in, and then you see that password is not working. So in that scenario, either you have to approach the admin to change your password, or if -1 option is there, it allows you to change your password and continue to log in. Now, account expiration date. See guys, suppose there is a guy who's coming to your organization for a 1 month project. Now, after his project is over, he's not going to be there in our office anymore. So I want to set account expiration deadline. That means automatically on that date, his password, his account will be disabled, right? So I want automatically the account to be disabled on so and so date and time. So by default, again, it is -1. -1 means never. The account is never going to get expired. But if you want to set an expiry, you can go to date, month, sorry, year, month, and date. So I'll say 2021. Maybe next month I want the password to be expired. So on April 9th, I want his account to be expired. So 2021 April 09, I want this account to be automatically disabled. Now if I go to change-l and the username, you see March 9, the password was changed. It is going to expire on March 16, that is 7 days later. March 18, the password will become inactive. That means on March 19, if you have not changed the password and trying to log in with old password, then it is going to not allow you to log in. Then account will expire on April 9th. Minimum number of days between password change. That means today you change the password, you have to wait for 1 day to make a change again tomorrow. Maximum number of days between password change, that is validity, 7 days. 2 days before expiry, it will start give you warning. Now guys, we cannot wait 7 days and test it. At least I can test one thing, that today if I have changed the password, it won't allow me to change the password again. So let me go to Manoj account. Who am I? Recently, today only we have changed the password. I'll say passwd. The password I have kept is Red Hat @391. See, when I say current password, it simply give me a message that you must wait longer to change your password. Because as per the policy, today we have changed the password and we put minimum waiting time as 1 day. So today if you've changed the password, the next password change will be allowed tomorrow. Today only it is not going to allow you to change the password, right? Now guys, there is one file called etc login.defs. If you read this file, it allows you to set default parameters, like you see maximum days, minimum days, password length. Also you can set how many characters you want in password, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever you want, you can set according to your thing, right? Password age, how much you want to keep, right? All those things you can maintain in this particular file. So I just want you to just have a look in this particular file. Moreover, if you see at the beginning, here it is telling you that you can go to man pages and you can read a little more about this particular file. Okay, now one more thing. Let us say that I have changed the password for Hamsi. Now, as Hamsi user, if I log in, I'm able to log in successfully, isn't it? Now, as a root, I have set a password for Hamsi user, but I want to force Hamsi to change his password at next login. Okay, one more thing is there, guys, before this. See, if you don't want to go this way, like ch age and the username, it is asking all the fields line by line. So you are giving minimum password age, maximum password age, all that thing you are giving. You are telling ch age, username, and line by line it is asking the questions and you are answering. Maybe guys, I'm not interested to change minimum password age. I am not interested to change maximum password age. I just want to change password expiration warning field. That's it. So how to target only one thing instead of going with all those things? So in that scenario, you can go with options. Ch age, option, value, and the username, right? For example, to change minimum password age, you can say ch hyphen m and whatever you want to change it, username. Capital M only to change maximum password change. D for last time password change, right? Now we should not give anything over here. You should leave it empty, right? Or if you want to change the last password time, you can give the whole date. When was the last time changed the password? W to set password expiration warning. I for password inactive. E for account expiration date. For example, I want to change account expiration date for Manoj. So I'll say chh-l Manoj. So you see account expiration date is April 9, 2021. Maybe I want to make it April 15th. So I'll say chh-e. You have to follow the same pattern. First of all, year 2021, month 04, and the date I want is 15. For which user? Manoj user. Now if you go back and check it out, you see I'm able to change that field. So these options you can use small m, capital M, I, and you can change whatever field you want to change. Now same way, I want to force Hamsi to change his password at next login mandatorily. So if you want to force a user to change his or her password at next login, then you can go with this option chh date of password change 0 followed by username. So when you set D0, that means you are forcing a user password to expire today. So even though there is no limit set for Hamse, you see March 9 the password change, never, never, never. It is never going to get expired. Now what I want to do is I want to force that today Hamse should change the password. So you can say chh-d. Probably after that you can set the change date, like you can say 2021-03, something like that, that today or maybe tomorrow the password change. You are setting the password change date. But here if you give 0 for Hamsi, now you run chh-l, you see it is telling password must be changed. Now you just try to log in as that user, give username, give the correct password, and you see it is telling you you are required to change your password immediately. Administrator enforce. This is what happens exactly when the password expired and next day you are typing an expired password. If that password inactive is set to -1, suppose seventh day password expired, eighth day when you are logging with expired password, exactly this screen you will see. It tells you that the password is expired. Now you change your password to continue. So you see Hamsi is now forced to change his password. If he log out and log in and do the same thing, again it will stop and tell change the password to continue. Your password is expired. So if you think that the password is compromised for any user and you want to force the user to change the password, then you can go with chh-d0 and make sure that the password is forced for that user to be changed. Okay, all right. Now finally, I would like to delete the user accounts. Suppose I want to delete Manoj account. So make sure Manoj is not logged in, because if the account is logged in, you cannot delete it, right? So you can just check it out. Who? So you'll find out which user is logged in, and if Manoj is logged in, it would be visible over here. So you see Manoj user is not active, it's not logged in, and I want to delete the user account. To delete Manoj user, I'll go with the command user del. Which user? Manoj user. Now go back and say tail etc password. You'll not find Manoj's information here. Even if you go to shadow file, there is no password field for Manoj. The user is deleted successfully. Great. But deleting a user like that has a issue, and sometimes it creates a very big issue. What is that? The user is deleted, guys. But if you go to home directory, do you see Manoj's home directory is still there? And if you go to var spool mail, did you see that Manoj mailbox is still there? So user got deleted, but his home directory and mailbox is still there. Now, if I create one more user with Manoj name, it is going to create a conflict, a big conflict will arise. It says that I am not that Manoj to use his home directory or his mailbox. So this new Manoj will be created without any home directory, without any mailbox. Now that is going to have lots of issues every time. So if you don't want that issues, you should go to slash home, I'm sorry, remove the directory manually. Go to var spool mail and remove Manoj file mailbox manually, right? But guys, is it feasible that whenever you delete a user, go to home directory, delete it manually? Go to mailbox, remove it manually? Suppose I'm using a script. Or maybe I'm using Ansible automation to delete user from 100 machines. Now, every time I delete a user, shall I go to each machine or by manually removing these things? No. So the best way to delete a user with all its attribute is using userdel-r, where R will remove home directory and mailbox together. So I'll say user del hyphen r. Suppose this time I want to delete Humse user. Now you go to tail etc password. Did you see Humse user is deleted? Do you see his name anymore in the list? No. Go to etc shadow. Even the field is deleted from shadow field. Now you just go to mailbox. Do you find Humse's mailbox? No. Go to slash home. Did you find his home directory? No. So whenever you are deleting a user, it's always recommended that we use hyphen r. If we don't use hyphen r, then it is always going to be keeping your home directory and mailbox without deleting. So anytime next time you are trying to delete, you're going to face issues. Okay, so that is it, guys, for user administration. Tomorrow we will see group administration and some advanced things in user administration, special permissions and access controls, many advanced things we are going to cover up. So anyway, for today's session, if you have any questions, you can please put your questions now. Okay, bin bash is a shell through which you are typing the command, right? Suppose you want to run ls. Where do you think that ls is running? On the shell. So bash is a type of shell. Most prominent shell, default shell, and widely used shell in Linux environment. First thing. And var spool mail contains the mails. If you have received any mails, for example, if you say var spool mail for root. So if root is having any mail received, anyway, there is no proper mails received by root. And in fact, there is no mail for root. That is the reason. Now, if I say cat my user, you see it's empty. So spool mail contains the mails that you have received from other users. We'll learn how to send receive mails when we configure the mail server. At that time, I'll show you how this file will be storing your mails and how to clear up the data from them. Bash is a shell. Spool mail contains emails of each user. One more thing is there, guys, if you want to see the history, that what time which user logged in and all, very important thing, you need to run last command. So when you run last command from today's time in reverse order, that means today, then yesterday, then previous day information will be stored. So last user that logged out or logged in is Hamsi user from this terminal, from this IP address, and he logged in on Tuesday, March so and so time. And he was there for a short period of time and immediately he logged out, right? Now, Manoj user was there for almost, 28 minutes. He was logged in. Root user is still logged in, right? Like that, it is trying to say. So if you want to see the history that when the user was logged in and when was the system reboot, when was the system rebooted. So it would tell you that system was started on March 9, 6, something like that. It is going to show you all that thing. So what's the command, guys? The command is last. Last will show you all the previous logged ins and when was the system booted actually. Okay, I guess there are no more questions, guys. So we'll stop the session here and let's meet up tomorrow and continue with the next things inside it. Practice it well, guys. It is one of the important chapter.